من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة الله على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وأما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المتين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن كل شيء خلقنا زوجين لعلكم تذكرون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My condolences to each and every one of you. This evening's majlis is Isal Sawab for the soul of our dear sister Zinat Bijani. We ask that Allah may accept her into His grace and mercy, shelter in His inayat and lutf, and raise her up amongst the lovers and followers of Ahl Bayt alayhim as-salam. In addition, that we had been talking these last few weeks about Hazrat Zahra alayha as-salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And we had been covering a number of issues, ladies' issues, with specific attention to ladies. It's something important for us to spend time on. I think that a lot of times this propaganda that gets spread in the Western media, that Muslims are anti-woman and oppressive towards their women, and there's an idea that, our Muslim women only wear hijab because we force them to. There's this common perception in non-Muslim society that if these women were given their free will, they wouldn't wear hijab. Little do they know that the ladies, the Muslim ladies, they value their own dignity, and their value is higher than that value that is given to women in Western societies. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time we were together in this center, this is what we had discussed. We were discussing those issues related to women and women's role models, particularly in Western societies. And we had mentioned this last time we were together, that ladies, womanhood, femininity is something undervalued in Western societies. And in fact, the aim and the goal is to diminish, decrease the influence of womanhood and femininity in the society. And when you look at what's going on in the society around you, you can see signs and examples of that. And we had given you examples, and many of you have heard these examples before. These days, you're seeing, for instance, that women no longer look at the important task of being mothers and wives as important work. This is something that, one of the most fundamental, basic contributions of women, something that men can't do. Now, if a woman comes and says, when I grow up, I want to be a good mother to my children, the other young ladies will look at her like, what are you, crazy? Have you lost your mind? What about college? What about career? And they're pushing this on our young ladies. I have daughters. I have 7 daughters, so I know a little something about this. Not long ago, one of my daughters was telling me, Baba, the key to getting into a good college is that you get into a good high school. And the key to getting into a good high school is that you get into a good junior high school. And I have to put all of my attention in this. La ilaha illallah. What's the key to getting into Bihisht? What's the key to getting into paradise? What's the secret to lifelong happiness? No one's looking at this. They are pushing this idea on all of us, and it's dangerous for everyone, but particularly dangerous for our women. We had mentioned this last time we were together. There is a cultural assault underway. And as in most things, we are slow to react. You know, it's a beautiful example, like when the Shia ulama were warning the Iraqi government of Malik al-Nouri about this Nouri Maliki, what's his name? He's so mediocre. His name is hard to remember. When they were warning this guy about Daesh, no one did anything. And only after Daesh now got the tribes to sell out and they took Mosul, now it became a big problem. But months before that, the Iraqi government was being warned. And this is one of our problems. We react slowly to these things. Propaganda is going on against us right now. They are filling our children's minds, our minds, with ideas, and we're slow to react. We're slow to counterattack. We're slow to even defend ourselves. And it's important that we take these matters seriously, insha'Allah. So we want to continue our discussion. As you remember, last time we had left off, we had said that there is a position that we had mentioned quite frequently recently concerning the acceptance of the influence of females in the society. And I'm not talking about that women can drive tractor trailers and taxis and fly planes and, lift heavy loads with bulldozers. We're talking about that influence and those qualities and those attributes that they can impart to society that we as men are incapable or less capable of sharing and influencing the society in that way. Those attributes that are most profoundly seen in women. Things like compassion, love, nurturing. These attributes that are generally associated with all human beings, but particularly with women. One of the examples we had pointed out in this was Hazrat Zahra alayha salam. And when we look at Hazrat Zahra's life, we see that her struggle, her jihad, her standing up in defense of Islam, particularly after the death of Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, was carried out. This defense was carried out from within the circle of femininity and womanhood. Zahra never had to once, let's just say, put on a jeans pants. Not that there's anything wrong with denim. Zahra never had to dress like a man. Zahra never had to take on masculine attributes. Zahra never had to arm herself and get a weapon. Zahra never had to get a shield. Zahra never had to go get nezeh. No, Zahra, when she defends Islam, Zahra, when she defends Wilayat Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, she does so from the circle of womanhood. And never leaves that circle. This is what's so remarkable about this woman. She shows us how women resist. She shows us the power that women had. And don't think that this power is something light. This power has been talked against and diminished and downgraded in Western culture. But don't think, for instance, that it's something weak. I'll give you an example. Send a salawat. Let me just refresh the memory, inshallah. What we see is, I'll give you an example. Zahra alayhi salam, she had a number of techniques, tactics, strategies that she used to defend Islam, to defend Wilayat Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. A number of different tactics. One of these tactics, as an example, was tawbih. Tawbih. Tawbih means to condemn. Tawbih means to reprimand, to rebuke, or to censure. Zahra alayha salam did not just content herself with, for instance, other forms of resistance, and we'll list a couple of them. But one of her chief stratagems, one of her chief tactics was tawbih. She condemned those who were usurping the rights of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, leading the people astray. She condemned and publicly reprimanded those who had usurped the rights of Ali and her own rights. And it's not something that she said under her breath or behind someone's back. When Zahra alayhi salam finds out that Abu Bakr has dismissed her agent, the person that she assigned in Fadak, when Zahra finds this out, she goes to Masjid al-Madinah and she gives a sermon. It's way too long for me to mention to you in 2 or 3 speeches. Really the depth and profundity. We could spend the length of a Muharram just skimming the surface of it. 10, 12, 14 days just skimming the surface of this speech. For free online, do something for yourself. Look this up and read it. The sermon of Hazrat Zahra alayhi salam at Masjid al-Madinah. This sermon, and in this sermon, Allahu Akbar. It begins very eloquently, of course, as all of the discussions of Ahl Bayt do, with praise of Allah, Na'at Hazrat Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, reminding of her own position. But then it goes into this issue of tawbih and condemning those who have not stood up for justice. First she addresses Muhajirin, then she addresses Ansar, and understand the language that she uses. She says, Ansar, you are people who are equipped for war. You have weapons and shields and armor. Why are you not answering my call for help? Zahra is not sitting here trying to run a guilt trip on people. Zahra is actively trying to recruit soldiers to her cause. You go and you read it and you see it for yourself. She's not any wilting flower, as we have this idea of Zahra. A woman whose skin is pale because it's never seen the light of day. A woman whose hands are soft because they've never worked an hour. No, this was Zahra alayhi salam. Always in the front lines of the struggle. Understand when her training began, when she was 5 or 6 years old. She was at her father's side. Yani, understand, she took the place of Hazrat Khadija alayhi salam as far as the female exponent of Islam after Khadija's death. After Hazrat Khadija's death, where are women to look? And to whom shall they cast their glance for guidance? Who can act as a mediator between them and Rasul? Sometimes women are shy. They don't want to ask Rasul questions directly. They need some woman in between them and Hazrat Rasul. Zahra fulfilled that function from a very early age. One of her techniques was tawbih. This was one of her techniques. Another of her techniques was ihtijaj. Argumentation, protesting, speaking publicly. This speech of hers, her khutbah in Masjid al-Madinah, shows her ability. It's available in Arabic and English, maybe available in other languages too. I really didn't check. However, try to read the Arabic. You know, one of the techniques that ulama use to distinguish the writings of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, the sayings of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, from impostors is fasahat and balaghat. If the Arabic is of too low a grade, they say, no way, this is not attached to Ahl Bayt alayhim salam. No way. Example of that is tafsir. One of the tafsir of the later imams, it's slipping my mind now, it has a particular name, but because of the eloquence in this tafsir, they say that this tafsir does not come from Ahl Bayt alayhim salam. The eloquence is not high enough. If you read the Arabic of this sermon of Hazrat Zahra alayhi salam, you see that the source could be none other than a ma'soom. in this argumentation, in this style of speech that she has in this, you can see why, if there was no Ali, then there would be no husband for Zahra. Zahra couldn't have married anyone else. It would have been unequal pairing. And we had a discussion just last night with some of the brothers about that. When you have a pair, Allah says in Quran, we read the ayah tonight, He made everything a pair. Everything's made out of a pair. This pair of Zahra and Ali, it had to be these two. Because these two could not have been a pair with anyone else. Not that equal pair. Not that precise pair. No way. One of the other techniques of Hazrat Zahra, in addition to tawbih and ihtijaj, is crying. Buka, giriye. Crying. Now a lot of times, especially in Western culture, we look at crying as something bad. I know a lot of brothers who convert to Tashayyu. It's quite an experience for a new Shia to go to like Azadari and Majlis Hussein and see men crying. It's something that in our culture, it's not understandable to us. I mean, all of us took a little while to loosen up and really relax and get in touch with what? What we would call your feminine side. That atifi, that rahmat, that inayat, that is receptive inside of ourselves so that we can cry for Imam Hussein. And to this day you might still find converts who have trouble with that. Maybe even other people who have come under the influence of this culture, that it's bad for a man to cry. Oh, it's something bad. Or even women, crying is looked down on. What are you crying for? Especially in our culture. However, crying is an effective tactic and strategy. And you'll say, what? How can crying be a strategy? One of the ulama has listed 4 things that makes crying a very good strategy of Hazrat Zahra's alayhi salam. Well, first and foremost, crying is a weapon. It's described as a weapon in Dua Kumail. In Dua Kumail, we make that dua and we say, Ya Allah, that person whose only weapon is crying. But the only weapon you have before Allah, the only true device at your hands is to cry. And it's been proven, those of you who have been on ziyarat, those of you who even we've made dua, when you make a dua with tears in your eyes, when you do a ziyarat with tears in your eyes, it makes a difference from when you don't have tears in your eyes. From the point of view of istijabat and acceptance of that dua. Crying itself is a weapon. And this is mentioned amongst the ulama and in the dua. So one of the weapons of Hazrat Zahra alayhi salam was crying. Crying causes questions to be asked. One day I was leaving my home and I get to the corner of the main road. Sometimes I walk the kids to school. You know, if you have kids that stay up too late past their bedtime, one thing I've learned is, with the little kids, about 12, 1 o'clock in the day when the sun is the hottest, that's the time you send them outside to play. They'll go outside and play. You give them 1 hour, hour and a half outside, and that sun, when they come back in, it's nap time. If you walk them in the daytime, when night comes, they will go in their bed on time. So sometimes we walk to school. As we hit the corner, there's a lady crying her eyes out on the corner. Mexican, she doesn't speak any English, and my Spanish is not what it used to be. So we're stuck. But still, you have to stop and say, what's the matter? Are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? What's the problem? Even if you don't speak a person's language, even if you don't know that person, you might not even know why they're crying. Crying, you see someone crying, it makes you ask the question, why are you crying? So crying, in addition to being a very effective weapon, causes questions to be asked. Crying exposes secrets. When you cry, the vulnerability that crying produces and creates within the human being opens up doors of the heart. That conversation that you might have with someone when you're crying would be different if you had all your senses about you. And the truths that will be exposed to that heart that is open while it's crying, secrets that come out. Crying exposes secrets. And finally, crying is a protest, and it shows dissatisfaction. So when the people of Medina see Zahra alayha salam enter into Masjid al-Madinah to give that famous khutbah of hers, and they hear her begin the khutbah, before isti'adha, before Bismillah, Zahra lets out a moan and a cry. This causes everyone present also to cry. Crying has this effect. Zahra mounted her defense of Islam. Zahra mounted her attack on the usurpers of wilayat completely from the circle of femininity and womanhood, and actually had such a profound effect. Any enemies run away from the house of Zahra when they hear Zahra crying. Supporters of these zalimeen abandon them when the cries of Zahra are heard. Zahra carries out a mission that none other could likely carry out in those conditions. One thing I want to say before we really move on and get it moving. When we talk about this issue of immediately after the death of Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, don't think that things were rosy and happy and pretty. We have this idea that it was even a majority of people that accepted this Saqifa Bani Saida idea and followed along with that, and people were going along with it and everything was cool. No, understand something. Wahi tribesmen, wild Bedouin tribesmen, were brought in from the desert to go from house to house, to patrol the streets, and to ensure and enforce that everyone went to the masjid and made bay'ah. This wasn't some, hey, we decided to go in another direction and everything's cool. This was an armed coup d'etat with people in the streets and armed men patrolling the streets, and the Amir al-Mu'mineen being tied up, and the house of Zahra being burned. Don't think it was like Jolly Farm. It was serious incidences happening. It was a very dark and terrible time in our history. One thing I want to finish up our discussion on this note this evening is this. Why did we begin the discussion with this ayah? Allah has created everything in pairs, that perhaps لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ, that perhaps you'll be mindful, you'll think, you'll reflect. What do we mean by that? Send a salawat and we'll finish that up, inshallah. Everything has been created in pairs, says Allah in Quran, and this conforms to what we see in the physical world around us. Philosophers even make reference to this issue that Tawheed is the origin of everything, unity, singularity, being one. But creation demands multiplicity. And the first step from Wahdaniyat, philosophically speaking, from the status of Tawheed to the status of multiplicity and creation is duplicity. So from unity, we move to duplicity, things being in twos, and then from things being in twos to the multiplicity that we have around us today. And you can see it reflected in creation all around you. Everything is created in pairs. This is a fact of life that we cannot escape. One of the most basic stories in the Quran that everyone's aware of, that I actually rely on quite often because there's so much to be learned from it. Ayatollah Fatimi Niyah, he says that just the story of creation of Adam and Hawa contains within it so many lessons for life. You look at that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. What does He create? To create all of human beings? Two. And not even like the Christians say. Like Christians say, Hawa was made from some spare parts of Adam. Like Allah administered some, laughing gas to Adam, put him asleep, took out a rib, and with this rib, He made Hawa. And women, in Judeo-Christian tradition, they look at this and they don't see anything wrong with this. Women, this is something interesting for us to note. Women don't even have an independent creation in Judeo-Christian creation story. Their creation is dependent on men. Alhamdulillah, you're Muslims. In Islam, we believe that Allah created Adam independently, Hawa also independently. They were made from the same ingredients, but no spare parts. They each had their independent creation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This pairing off includes even those two, male and female, so that we could have the multiplicity that we have, all the human beings that we have today. All the human beings that we have today have all been traced to a common female ancestor, scientifically. I have a doctor friend of mine, he says that if we wiped out everybody on the earth today and left only two of them, over time, these two would recreate all the variations that we have amongst the human family today. The black, the white, the red, the yellow, thick lips, thin lips. All the variations would be recreated from just those two. You and I, no matter where we're from, are more closely related than any two chimpanzees from the same, what do they call a tribe of chimpanzees? Herd? Gaggle? I don't know. Human beings are very closely related. This indicates on our origins, this indicates on our source. We came from two. Everything has been created in pairs. This concept of pairs, this duplicity is reflected in all of creation. Allah swears by the sun and the moon, the night and the day, and so on and so forth. This pairing off is there, exists in creation. This pairing off is so important for us to understand because, as we had mentioned before, when we pair something off, it implies equality. If you have a size 9 shoe and a size 6 shoe, it's still a pair of shoes, but they're not equal. And if you try to wear that pair of shoes, one of your feet is going to hurt. And if you wear those shoes too long, both feet will hurt. Pairing implies equality. We had mentioned this in reference to Quran and Ahl Bayt alayhim as-salam before, that Allah paired Quran with Ahl Bayt alayhim as-salam. This is their pairing. Prophet mentions this in Hadith al-Thaqalain. This is a pair, Quran and Ahl Bayt. This implies that these two are a pair and an equal pair. It's not that one is more important than the other. We should pay attention to one more than the other. In fact, it's probably detrimental to pay attention to one more than the other. It's probably bad for you, especially if you only pay attention to Quran. These crazy Muslims that are running around the world, and we have them even here in America, that say, look, we can't trust Hadith. Because we have Sahih and we have Da'if. We can't trust Hadith. All we want is Quran. One time on Facebook, they had made like a Facebook page called Quranites. Like, Baba, this is a sect that never existed in the history of Islam. Hadda aqal, if you're going to make something new, resurrect one of the old sects for us, You're going to make something absolutely new. Prophet only said 73 sects. Why you got to go to 74? You're going to make something completely new, Quranites. If you only pay attention to Quran, My personal opinion is this: you're almost guaranteed to go astray. One brother was saying the other day, oh, we should send some Quran for this guy. He's interested in Islam. I said, man, that might lead him astray. So the brothers who were with us, they look at me and they said, huh? You send somebody Quran, it leads them astray. It's possible. Words are subject to interpretation. Abasa wa tawalla. He frowned and he turned away. Me and you look at that ayah, abasa wa tawalla, and we say, ha, the bad guy frowned and the bad guy turned away. Somebody else looks at it, abasa wa tawalla, he says, ha, Prophet frowned, Prophet turned away. Words are all open to interpretation. Quran says, follow Allah, and obey the Prophet, and obey those who have authority amongst you. We look at it and we say, these mushakhasat that are given after that, it means Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. Somebody else looks at it, they say, no, ulul amr minkum, it means anybody. It could be Obama, it could be Boehner, it could be Rush Limbaugh, but anybody, ulul amr, whosoever have power. Rick Scott, policeman on the side of the road, ulul amr. Anybody who have authority, you have to obey them. Words are open to interpretation. Words are open to interpretation. If you only follow Quran, you will. It's very likely, not that you will go astray. You will go astray if you only follow Quran. You need some hadith. Quran don't show you a lot of stuff, don't teach you a lot of stuff. You need interpretation. And that's why Allah teamed and paired that Quran with Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. Foundation of Ahl Bayt. Where does it come from? What are y'all going to say? What's the foundation of Ahl Bayt? Who's the foundation of Ahl Bayt? We're going to say Hazrat Rasulullah. Somebody might say that, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Someone might say, oh, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, he's the foundation. You ask either of these two, Rasulullah or Ali, hey, who's the foundation of Ahl Bayt? They're going to tell you Fatima to Zahra. Look at yourselves. If I come to you and ask you, as much junk as you talk, as much harfaya gunde that you issue forth, if I come and I ask you, hey, what's the foundation of your family? What are you going to say? Brother, you're going to say, brother, my wife and my kids. That's what you're going to say if I come and I ask you, hey, what's the foundation of my wife and my kids? Ladies have that position. Ladies have a power. Sometimes they know they have that power and they misuse it. So ladies, be careful. It's a big power. It's a something powerful. Be careful. We don't have anything that can match it. So don't try. That's why Allah put you in charge. They got the big gun. You're in charge. That's how Allah made it. Allah made it like that. They have the power, but He put you in charge, and that balances it out. That's why the pair is equal. Because if they had the power and He put them in charge, why Vayla? Hayhat min nadillah. Luckily, Allah set it up in such a way that He created a balance for us. They have the power, we're in charge. We have the authority. So, alhamdulillah. Foundation of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam is Zahra alayhi salam. Fatima to Zahra. Mother is the mihvar, the absolute center and axis of the household. Today was the shahadat of al-Baneen. Let's finish here then. When you look at the sons of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, the brothers of Hazrat Abbas. You look at these boys and you ascribe them to Ali. That loyalty that you see in them. That bravery that you see in them. That ma'naviyat that you see in them, you ascribe it to Ali. But you'd be mistaken. Sure, Ali is their father, but they were raised in the lap of Baneen. They nursed from the breast of Baneen. If you went and asked Ali, these boys of yours, What is the source of their power? Then Ali would tell you, look, when I wanted to get married, after Hazrat Zahra alayhi salam, I was alone for some time. I needed to find a mate that even though I knew that no one could ever equal Zahra again, I knew that no one could ever be the equal of Zahra again, I needed someone that could be a sufficient mate and pairing off for myself. And the one whom I found was this Ummul Baneen. Today was her wafat. And so we should not diminish or decrease or slight the influence of the women in our lives. We're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on our souls, to have mercy on the souls of our departed loved ones, members of our families, members of our community who've traveled before us. Ya Allah, show them your inayat and your grace, accept them into your mercy, raise them up with the followers and lovers of Ahl Bayt alayhim as-salam. Ya Allah, we ask of you to give shafa'at to those of us in need of shafa'at here in this assembly. Shafa'at ruhi, shafa'at badani, shafa'at and intercession for our souls and for our physical ailments. Ya Allah, assist us. We ask of you, Allah, to hasten the appearance of your Imam and to make us the helpers and supporters upon his return. وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمِ. Salawat.